The Red Cross is, if you've paid any attention to the last few years, the Red Cross was really hurting about 4 years ago, and so there was a lack of stability in the director position. There was no board to speak of anymore. The advisory board had just disassembled, and so the Red Cross had a decision to make. They had to either choose to hire a new director and hope for the best, or they were going to shut the office down. Thank goodness they chose to hire a new director, because that was me. And so I've been the last 3 years been trying to save the office and so we could have a local presence continued in Muskogee. This office was established in 1917, so it has a lot of historical value to this community that you may not be aware of. But anyway, the total revenue that they had raised the year before I took over was $59,000. And as a business person, you know that that's not going to fund any office anywhere, anyhow, especially with the amount of disasters that we have in this service area. That year they helped 92 families and spent $94,000 in doing so. So they were they were just in the red big time. That's not including salaries, that's not including anything else locally. It was just a bad scenario. And so anyway, fast forward 3 years, and now this year we've raised $224,000. $156,000 was for local efforts, and believe it or not, $69,000 for national disasters, all out of this area. So things are starting to look up, and so with that said, I want to show you a quick PowerPoint presentation to kind of give you a history of the Red Cross, and to kind of lead things into showing you what the Red Cross does and how we do things. So if you guys have any questions afterwards, we'll just have a Q&A.
When you fall
So I hope that video kind of shows you what the Red Cross has been doing. The lifeblood of the Red Cross is our volunteers and it's our donors. The Red Cross has been chartered by Congress since 1900, and then the second congressional charter happened in 1905, and it's been in place ever since. But we're not a government-funded agency, so we rely on donors to give monetarily, and then we rely on volunteers to show up and give that money to the families that are in need. So all that money that we've been giving away, the $61,000 plus that we gave this year alone, that was all donated from you guys. And so the Red Cross, the way I look at it, it's truly neighbors helping neighbors. It may be an international organization like Rotary, but it's only as strong as the local communities want it to be. And so without the donors, there's no money, there's no mission. Without the volunteers to give that money away, there's still no way of getting it done. 97% of the Red Cross is volunteer-based. So there's no way I could go out and respond to all those disasters by myself and raise all the money by myself and do all that. I'm just fortunate to be a part of this as the director, and I think it's a fantastic mission. Do you guys have any questions whatsoever for me at this point? Yeah.
I wanted to know about the swim and fitness center deal.
Okay. Basically, how that worked out is the Red Cross was spending bukus of money on utilities and had no money coming in, and so they had to do something with the building, and it was sitting stagnant. The pool was empty except for the green goo at the bottom of the pool, and it was gross. And it was pretty tragic considering what it used to be. And so the CEO at the time chose to strike a deal with the city of Muskogee, and the city was able to take over the building, and we were able to stay in the building rent-free for life, which is a fantastic situation when you're working with the donated dollar. You don't have to spend those donated dollars on utility expenses. So in my opinion, it was one of the best deals we could have ever made as an organization, and I believe it's worked out really well for the community as well. So does that answer your question?
Well, I want you to know, and you've seen me there, that I go to that every week, at least twice a week.
That's right.
And I've showed off my muscles once in a while.
Yeah, if you want the gun show, she's got the guns. So.
Is that why you're sitting with Anthony?
Yeah. I don't know if he goes there.
Right. On your, it said you sent a certain number of communications or alerts. Define what those are.
Okay. We have a program called Services to Armed Forces, and what it is if you've ever been in the military, you probably know about it. And when those military men and women are overseas and there's an emergency at home, the only way for the family to communicate to that soldier is through the Red Cross. And so we send that many communications just through our 3-county service area, which is Muskogee, Cherokee, and Adair counties. There's quite a bit. Is that kind of what? Okay. Larry?
I don't know if everyone here knows something you started, Ryan. It's based like the United Way. That when Ryan took over, he started a program calling on individual people in town. Some of you, I hope, are participating. More could. The United Way became successful because they allowed people to make monthly contributions. And he called on different businesses. He said, "We've got a hero campaign. We'd like you to give $1,000 a year. And you can do it monthly if you want to. And that roughly is $84 a month." If you have not participated in that, I think almost every Rotarian might could afford $84 a month and see him and sign up. That's one reason it's helped the campaign bring in money to our community.
That's one of the biggest areas of increases financially is through the Hero campaign. I took over the year before. They had only raised $11,700, and the CEO in Tulsa, she asked when they hired me, they told me, they said they want $50,000 by year 3. And we ended up raising $53,000 this past year. And it's whether it's the different events through the Hank Williams Senior Concert, the Muskogee Community Band Concert, there's the Spotlight Concert at the Roxy Theater, our dodgeball tournament. There's so many different ways. Joel Cousins had a backyard picnic with some friends and raised quite a bit of money that way. It's just, all it is just getting together and saying, yeah, we're going to step up to the plate and do what we can. And my job is to go out and raise as much money as I possibly can, obviously, and then pray to God that we're going to not have any disasters that year. So, and if we do, then hopefully we have enough volunteers in place to take care of it. There's a slide on here. Let me see if I can find that for you. It shows the picture of some of the volunteers that I've got. There's 3 teams of the 5 teams of volunteers I have in my 3 county service area. The gentleman on the right, he serves Cherokee and Adair counties, and he responds to between 50 and 70 disasters a year just by himself. Terry and Virginia Haller on the left, they respond to about 50 fires a year by themselves. And then the Pivoks that are in the middle there, they're one of our Service to Armed Forces volunteers, but they do about 10 to 15 a year. And then I've got a gentleman that lives in Shakota that comes up to Muskogee County every once in a while and helps. And then I've got a sister combination. I don't know, you may know them. They're Darla Ryan and Mary Jo Posey. They team up and do about 10 to 15 disasters a year when school's not in session, because they still teach. That is not near enough volunteers to cover anything what we would have if, say, the Moore tornado hit Muskogee. Knock on wood that would never happen to here, but there's no way that 5 sets of volunteers and me could possibly take care of 40,000 people. It needs to be neighbors helping neighbors, and so one of the issues that we always run into when a major disaster happens is spontaneous volunteers. And what do you do with a spontaneous volunteer? How can they help? There's ways that they can help, but if we can get them to do a little bit of training in advance, when the time comes for when a major disaster strikes, maybe it's an ice storm, then we can at least utilize them in a better avenue. Disasters are going to happen. They happen every year. Fortunately, some of the large-scale disasters haven't happened recently. But the last major one was the blizzards. And then before that was the ice storm and the floods in Cherokee and Adair counties. But we're responding to well over 100 home fires a year. There's no such thing as a minor disaster. To that family, that's their world they just lost. I mean, if you think about if your home burned down, you lost everything, and if you lived in a mobile home, you lost everything in about 5 to 8 minutes. And so, and then most of these people don't have insurance. They're, it's really a scary situation for that family. Yeah.
Well, Brian, that kind of brings me to my question, because I'm a bean counter. I'm also a big believer in what the Confucians say is the best way to block a punch is not be around it. I know that logistically would probably at first look like a nightmare, and it may seem really off the wall. But a little forward thinking here about getting into these communities of that caliber who are having, I'm sure there's probably a pretty good correlation between those fires and those homes and the people who don't have insurance. Okay? Which is cheaper? Buying the
Well, a lot of them are renters also, and so if they don't have renter's insurance, then or the content insurance, so that makes them uninsured on that situation. But as far as getting ahead of the curve and talking to the homeowners, I mean that's a lot of effort. I don't know how to honestly, I mean, besides to going door to door and knocking on their doors to get their attention.
Well, the part of this AIM program, the part that I've been involved in, it's not been much, is kind of like, let's educate you to a better way of thinking about how to handle yourself.
Well, one of the issues that I've been running into is actually teaching people that there is a Red Cross and what the Red Cross does, first of all. That's where we're still in the process of making sure people actually know about the Red Cross, besides just blood services or swim lessons or hurricanes. There's so many people that just don't have a clue that the Red Cross actually responds to house fires. And that's on the Red Cross, because the marketing nationally for the Red Cross has, until recently, hasn't been towards disaster recovery. It's always been for blood services, and they've done a fantastic job of making sure that they marketed blood services really well. It's just that, coupled with the fact that there's been no director of stability here locally. So Cherokee County, Adair County, they've really never even had a presence of Red Cross, somebody even showing up to their office. I mean, there was barely anybody here in Muskogee, let alone out in those two communities or those counties. And so it's going to take some time. I even have to go and visit with the fire departments and tell their teams of firefighters that the Red Cross exists, and they need to call us whenever there's a home fire. And it's that level of teaching is where we're at. I mean, it's very, very basic at this point. Yeah.
Brian, if somebody's in need of the Red Cross's services, what's the steps that they go through to initiate, process for help?
Hopefully, this is a scenario: is say your house burns down. Knock on wood again. But if that happens, the firefighters show up. Emergency management will probably be there as well, and hopefully, one of those two will call the 911 call center or directly to and so one of those three groups. Maybe one of those three groups will call the Red Cross on behalf of the family. The family has just lost everything. They're not going to know what's up from down or down from up or whatever. And so at that point, they're just in a daze. And so we're trying to take that out of their hands to make sure that somebody that has a little bit more stable emotions at that time can contact us. We can get the volunteers out there within an hour or two, and hopefully we can get them out there during the fire so that the firefighters are not having to babysit the family. And that's really our responsibility as Red Cross. And so then we can proceed doing a damage assessment. Typically it's going to be a complete burnout, total destroyed. And then we can proceed with doing an interview of the family and finding out what their immediate emergency needs are. Typically, it's food, clothing, shelter, storage container if they can salvage anything out of the fire. If they don't have a family to stay with, we can put them in a hotel for a couple nights. And so then once that initial step has been taken, then once that family finds a new place to stay, we can depending if they need us or not, we can help them with first month's rent, deposit money. We can help them with a kitchen kit, smoke cleanup kit, bedding and linens. We can help them with their medications if those burned up, their eyeglasses. It's very, very detailed on how much we can really provide. The average family of four on the initial interview receives anywhere between $800 and $1,000 of financial assistance from us. Does that help? Yes.
Could you talk just a little bit about this first responder training initiative for our scale disaster that you're anticipating?
It's not a first responder. It's actually what we call a Ready When the Time Comes program. and we're hoping to really get this going by about January more than anything. What it is if you want to be a full-time Red Cross volunteer, it's really a lifestyle change, and most people don't have the time for volunteering at that extent and getting that level of training. We can almost give you a PhD in Red Cross if you really want that level of intensity for volunteering. But what the Ready When the Time Comes program is it's a one-day training between 2 and 8 hours long, and say you have a couple days available through your work, you can volunteer for the Red Cross, whether it's be sheltering, working in a shelter, it could be bulk distribution, it could be disaster assessment. There are a world of different opportunities. We always need RNs, we always need people with CDLs. The opportunities are endless to help with the Red Cross. It's just a matter of what are you going to do when the disaster hits. Are you going to be able to be trained well enough at that time to be able to help in the recovery process, or are you just going to rely on us to help? That's kind of where we're at with it. Does that work for you? Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Jan?
Do you still have your babysitting training?
Yeah, that is through Leslie Hamill. She works over at she used to work with the Girl Scouts, and now she's over at the Teen Center. And she's our local representative that teaches the babysitting programs. And that's one of the really good programs that we've got going. It teaches kids to early resume skills. It teaches them early job skills. And they get a certification to be a true Red Cross babysitter. And so if you know of anybody that's looking for babysitters in the community, we've got people that are trained to know what to do in case of an emergency with the baby. So that works out really well.
One other thing, Ryan, back to what Melinda was talking about, when Katrina hit, and we ended up with a lot of evacuees up in group. I had several people, opted to go volunteer for the Red Cross, but they were not prompted for it. I think they were having to go through an OSBI check and so on, which is understandable. But you kind of interrupted the flow there, whereas Rotary, we grabbed up a bunch of people and ran out there for 2 days to put breakfast like that, because we already knew each other. Which brings me to this point. If you have something like that, you're not going to just get up and run down to Red Cross and go to work, right?
Right.
You got to be.
We're going to bring our trained volunteers first. That's what's going to happen first, and then if we can fit in the impromptu volunteers, the spontaneous volunteers, then that's what we'll do. But it's best to always get trained beforehand.
That's the preamble, is to get in ahead of time and get yourself qualified so that you don't have to be delayed in helping.
That's right. The Red Cross does a lot more things than that, but that's the main focus. So
I can't volunteer the Rotary for anything, but we do a day of care.
right.
Okay, and that takes 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it takes. What would be the possibility of trying to get with leadership here at Rotary and set up a day of training so that 5 or 10 people here can actually go through the training, formally set something up?
That's what the Ready When the Time Comes is
Yeah.
we can set that training up if there's 5 or 10 people here that want to do that, we just set a time and we'll bring an instructor down and get that done. So that's very simple. So
Maybe about time to refresh them on our CPR training.
we do have some free CPR classes. It's called CPR for Everyone. It's not a certification class, but it's the hands-only CPR. A lot of people, if you're at Walmart, you just walk along and somebody goes down, you're not going to want to do mouth-to-mouth CPR on that person. You're just going to probably walk off. But that's what we're trying to teach people is it's okay to do the hands-only CPR and actually get involved and help somebody out.